Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of making these medic prop video stuff. And yeah, here we are going to finish the backpack and make it look like this. And yeah, this is made out of cardboard. And I am going to go into detail on how I made cardboard look like this. So, yeah, also made with a soda bottle and some good old tubing from Home Depot. But anyway, let's get on with the build. Alright, so first I decided to make this piece so that way I could know how big the backpack needs to be. And I actually did this with a pretty cool technique that I'm about to show in a second. Alright, so for the backpack, on the cardboard side of this project, I have made this piece so far, which is like gonna be like the backpack itself, right? So the way I did this is insane. I took a ruler from like Google Images. I have this 2D drawing, and what I did was I paired the ruler up with the drawing just so I can get I did a thing where I just put I measured out like a piece of cardboard, put it on my back to see if it would look right, and so I got like 10 inches, and then basically what I did was I took the ruler from the drawing, matched it, scaled it up to the 10 inch, and then I just matched all the measurements from my drawing onto the cardboard, and it's pretty legit and pretty cool. So yeah, hopefully I'll be able to make more of this. It's kind of just based on I need to get one of the parts done for the gun before I can start doing the rest of it. So yeah, should be cool. Now that I got the correct piece for scaling, I decided to make the top and bottom first. Now this was a little bit harder to do since I was just working with a 2D drawing, so I kind of had to make a lot of guessing with the sizing of everything, but I think it turned out pretty well. Next up was the middle part, which wasn't that hard since I got the bottom and the top done. I could have a greater sense of the sizing that needed to be for the middle, like how thick the piece needs to be. And once I was done with that piece, I moved on to the little side box, which I glued onto the middle. Now, I didn't actually glue the top and bottom to the middle yet, since I ran out of cardboard, but also I needed to make the piece that covers the inside of it, if that makes sense. Because once I glue the middle piece, it has to be in the middle of the top and bottom. So I had to first figure out how to fill in the space and then make that smaller little ring area. Alright, so I got this done so far. And I got this box done. I don't have the back done at all. But yeah, so next up would be filling in these areas, putting the back, and doing this one strip. So yeah, great. And I've got a lot of parts printed too. Yeah, right there. Right there. Yeah. Next day I came back with some more cardboard from work, and I was able to get that back piece done. Then I used the middle to trace out a piece and also use one of the top or the bottom pieces to trace that out, so that way I can make that piece that fills in the gaps. And once I was able to do that, I kind of duplicated that a couple more times, because there's also like a little ring that's above the bottom piece. And once I was able to do that, I started to work on the little part at the bottom where the tube is going to go in. So I just took like a cardboard roll and I cut it and I applied that to the bottom. And the next piece I started to work on was the top
with these tubes. So I decided to use the same rolls and cut them, and then I decided to add all the little details, like the extra little rings, and then like the top piece that goes on top. And I used both the cardboard rolls and a sticker to make a bunch of circles, and I mean a bunch of circles. Oof. Once I was able to do that, I could move on to the next part. Once I did the top part, I moved on to this little kind of semi-cone piece that goes on that little side box that I made earlier. Then I took a trip to Home Depot and I got this tubing stuff and some adapters. That way I could have the tube that connects the backpack to the gun. So then I proceeded to use one of the adapters to make a hole in the bottom of the backpack, and I glued that in using both hot glue and super glue to make sure it's securely in there and stays there. And then I kind of covered the space on top. And so, yeah.
Alright, so far, I got this. I got the stuff on top. I got the stuff right here. And I got this little connecting thing for the tube. The only thing I have left to build is this area with the bottle. But I already have a template being made for the top of the bottle, because I'm just using a liter of soda bottle. No, wait, I forgot there's tape. Yeah, this thing, I got this template here because I need to cover up this stuff right here. And I'm like, alright, so how am I going to do that? So, yeah, that's what I'm going to work on. I'm going to work on this whole bottle thing, and then, yeah, I'll be done with the cardboard portion.
And using that template, I was able to make the pieces to make the dome area not look like a soda bottle. And I made sure that the pieces were pretty thin. The cardboard pieces were pretty thin, so that way it wouldn't be too hard when trying to fill that stuff in to make it match the rest of the bottle.
Alright, so this is what it looks like so far. I got the dome piece. It doesn't look super great, but I'll smooth it out so it hopefully looks better. But yeah, I got this done, which is great. Quick tip for anybody who's building with cardboard. So you see this stuff, right, with the corrugation, you know, all the holes and stuff. A way to make sure you don't have to worry about that in the smoothing process as much is literally take a thin piece of cardboard like this. If you just peel off pieces of cardboard, which is what I was doing, and you take this and you glue it to those corrugated parts, it makes it so much easier in the smoothing process. So yeah, that's a quick tip, and yeah, it's really great. And I will be doing that for the backpack actually, so I don't have to worry about that as much. So yeah.
Next up was me making the bottom of the bottle, which was pretty easy. I just used a bunch of paper towel rolls and more of those kind of tape roll pieces, and I was able to get that done, and we are very close with the cardboard being done.
Alright, well, now the building portion is done with this, which backpack looks pretty great. Wait a minute. Actually, there's something I forgot. Hold on. Now I got these two details for adding a little wire there, so yeah. Now I'm just gonna cover all the corrugation, so that should be fun.
Alright, and now I started adding all those thin little pieces of cardboard, and I first started out with the bottle, and then after that's done, I will show you what it looks like.
Alright, so I just got done filling in all the corrugation on this guy, at least for this part, but I think that's all I'm going to fill in this. But as you can see, it looks a whole lot better. Obviously, some parts better than others. This was a bit tricky because the plastic was starting to warp because of the heat of the hot glue. But I think I did a pretty good job, so yeah, looks great.
And now I am just going to do the exact same thing, but with the rest of the backpack.
Alright guys, so I've put all the little bits of cardboard over the corrugation, and now looks way better. Especially like these edges, I don't want to have to worry about them that much, so heck yeah. And now, I can move on to, well, actually, I may cut holes in here for backpack stuff, but other than that, I can move on to resin. Yay! Alright guys, today is the day that we finally moved from this cardboard stage to the resin stage. I got myself some resin right here, and we are going to apply that all on here so that way this cardboard is tough and won't flex at all. Basically making it kind of like a plastic kind of deal. It'll make this tougher and sturdier, which is perfect for any filler you put on it, like spackle or Bondo, so that way it won't crack. So yeah, that's the plan for today, and hopefully we can get it done. Alright, so today we're working with resin, but the problem is it's November, so the temperature is going to be a whole lot lower. But luckily, I have a way to remedy that. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to use this bucket on the right, and we're going to fill it up with some warm water. So after waiting for this water to warm up, we are then going to put it underneath and open up our new box of resin. And after we open this thing up, we're going to take the little things that they make sure the bottles don't leak. We're going to remove those, but I recommend being careful because there is some resin and the hardener stuff can get onto your hands, and that stuff's a little bit messy. After that, we are going to wait a couple minutes after dunking the resin bottles in there, and then that should make them all good for us to use without worrying about any weird defects that the cold will cause to the resin.
Alright, well, you might be wondering, what is this resin process?
After putting on some gloves and a respirator, I gathered myself some materials.
I grabbed some red solo cups, some sponge brushes, the 2-part resin and hardener that I bought off of Amazon, and a popsicle stick to stir. After grabbing all of those, I open up the 2 bottles. Then I pour them both evenly into the red solo cups. After that, I then pour one of the cups into the other, so then I can stir them. I stir for a couple minutes until there are no more swirls in the liquid. After that's done, I can start applying the resin with the sponge brushes.
And as I said a couple seconds ago, I used the sponge brush to apply all the resin everywhere, making sure I get it into all the crevices that I could, and also trying to make sure I spread it all evenly. And I did have a part where part of the top part came off, and yeah, that was a bit of an issue, but I was able to put that back on, and whew, I'm glad that worked.
Alright, it's the next day, and I'm going to try and get another coat on this guy, because you can see right here with the dull parts compared to the shiny parts, I need to cover these areas because it should be all glossy once I put enough resin on. So that's what I'm going to do to get rid of all of those matte, dull looking spots. So, yeah.
Now I am applying the second coat of resin, which is because the cardboard likes to absorb a bit of the resin, so you have to kind of hit it with multiple coats in order for it to fully be glossy, which is the look that we want. And also make sure that the pieces aren't like anywhere where they can stick to stuff, because once that resin dries, they're going to be stuck on. So you can see I put like some sponge stuff down, and I use like a PVC pipe to keep the backpack up. And now we are on to the smoothing and sanding process, which I'm going to be using a hand sander, and I'm going to use that to sand off the resin after waiting like 7 hours or so. That way the spackle will stay onto the backpack. And after finding some entertainment to watch, I started applying this thing called spackle. Spackle is basically a thing you use to fill holes in your wall, but we are going to use this to cover the entire backpack, so that way we can sand it down and kind of smooth out this whole piece to make sure it doesn't look like cardboard. Kind of like sculpting it, basically.
Alright, so here is the cardboard stuff all spackled. And once this dries, I'll be able to sand it, do the filling process with filler primer, and then do all this again. So yeah, hopefully I can get it done in time.
Now that those pieces are dry, I can start sanding them just with some sandpaper instead of using an electric sander. That way I can kind of make sure I don't sand off too much stuff, and I can get into those little places that the hand sander won't do. But I did eventually move on to a hand sander just so I can get a bunch of the big areas. But then any areas that I missed with the hand sander, I just use some sandpaper. And once this sanding process is done, we can start to prime it. Here is filler primer, and it's basically a thick spray paint that will cover all the little cracks or crevices in here. And let me know what else I need to fill in. So I'm going to apply this, and then after that's dried, I can repeat the spackling, the sanding, and the priming process a couple more times until I think it's smooth enough.
Here's what the backpack looked like after it dried. And yeah, it looks a little rough, but hey, that's why we do this in multiple layers. So here's what that looks like. Oh, yeah, and if you guys like what you're seeing, be sure to leave a comment down below. And also, if you want to see more content, hit the like button and subscribe.
Anyways, back to the filling process. All of this was going pretty well, though the third layer, I realized I didn't have any spackle, so I ended up using the stuff from the last video, which was Bondo. And you know what? It actually turned out pretty well. So I might want to use it for cardboard stuff now, because, you know, it actually sands pretty well. But anyways, once we were done with this, I get to finally move on to painting. Alright, so I have some paint ideas here for the backpack. Also, I didn't notice that there was a piece that was missing right there. I thought that was just a little paint thing, but no, it's actually like some sort of little thing that keeps it together. Oh well, I'll add that later. But yeah, so this box is dark gray, and that little outline thing down there is dark gray. Those are really the only two darker grays that need to be like that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tape off these, and then I'm gonna spray the rest of it this lighter gray. So that'll be lighter, and that'll work out pretty good. And then I have
I have this color for all the really dark areas of the gun, or not the gun, the backpack, my bad. And yeah, that should be all of it. So hopefully I can get all that done. And I also have the red, obviously, but I also have this blue. Oh no, it's French. I have this blue for the top parts right there. So yeah, what I'm going to do is I am going to grab myself some of this tape and I'm going to start masking off that stuff. And yeah, should be it. I shall show you guys how that goes. After applying some tape to keep the primer pieces colored, I went outside and took this piece out to color it with that lighter gray primer. Which, I don't know if it's going to show too much of a difference, but we'll see. And yeah, all this painting stuff went well. I started taping up more pieces and then adding the rest of the colors, and it was all going pretty well. Though I would have some problems that would rise up. Yeah, I gotta use some super glue on this because here, I'm gonna try and see if I can show it. There's a crack right there, which is not good, but luckily I got super glue, so I'm gonna put glue all around that. And I'm masking some of the tape. Sometimes you run into the fact where the paint leaks, but luckily you can just use an X-Acto knife. So yeah. Alright, as you can see, I put the super glue on and I got a little bit with the X-Acto knife. It's not perfect, but it's not too noticeable. So yeah, all I gotta do for this part at least is spray paint this red, and I am going to use something. I'm going to use something to mask off some areas because it's meant to show some gray underneath, like here and stuff. And what I'm going to use for that is this thing called drawing gum, and you can just basically apply it with a paintbrush, and it'll act like a liquid latex that dries, and you can just peel it off after you paint over it, which is cool. Alright, and I applied the drawing gum and the tape, and now I spray painted the soda bottle red, and that turned out pretty well, but then we get to the French blue. Okay, this paint is extremely weird. You see how, like, that weird texture? It sprayed that, but then, like, it also sprayed, like, a darker blue at some point. I had to shake it more to get it to this lighter blue. I guess I didn't shake it enough or something. But, oh, man. I had to put so much on here. It's not gonna look great. So, I'm gonna probably have to sand some of this paint off and try it again. So, yeah. I see why there's so many memes about not liking the French. So, like how I had that paint issue last video, this actually was a different problem. It seems that I didn't shake the can hard enough, or I didn't shake it long enough. That's what caused the issue. But anyways, like last episode, I decided to sand all the paint off as much as I could to make it look right, and then I applied the paint again. Luckily, I only had to fix it once, and now I made that little piece that I was missing before, and that turned out pretty good. So then I started to apply some paint to that, and I also applied some black paint to the tube. While those parts dried, I tried the straps that I bought from Home Depot on the sizing piece from earlier. The next thing I did was I tried to make out the cross on the medic backpack by penciling it out first on the backpack, and then I applied a bunch of tape to it, and I used an X-Acto knife to cut out all the parts that were gonna be red, and I got that painted,
and I think it turned out really well. Also, when I painted the red cross, I put a matte coat on the black tube, though the paint can still be scratched off pretty easily, so that sucks, but oh well.
Alright, so now this red is dry, which means I can finally start to peel off all the stuff, but I still have a couple of things to do before I end up putting a clear coat on this, and that is adding the backpack straps. So I need to cut out holes in the back, and any like other paints that I need to apply, like with acrylic, like making these little things black, or painting the in-between areas right here. And then I would be able to do a clear coat and glue things together, and then it should be done. So I'm gonna take this tape off and start getting to work.
And here's me removing the tape, like I said I would, and also cutting holes in the back, so that way I can attach these straps. And I kind of had to use a flashlight in order to actually see what I was doing. It's just kind of hard to get those straps through. But after I did that, I ended up cutting the straps, and I used a lighter to make sure that the end of the straps don't fray. So I ended up putting the lighter not super close up to it, but pretty close, and that kind of like made a little protective area over it. And I recommend that you don't try this at home without like supervision, and because you don't want to get burned, so be very safe. I also cut up this wire so that way I can get that detail done. And now this is almost ready for a matte coat, but first I had to remove these straps, and then I decided to glue on that little piece. And after that, it's now ready for a good old clear coat. And here's me putting on the matte coat, making sure to apply it everywhere evenly. So, now we're on to gluing this thing, and I'm going to use the same technique that I used to glue the 3D printed pieces together, with using E6000 and super glue. And in case you didn't watch the first video, which you should, ooh, this is a little bit tough. I'm going to be right back. I gotta get some pliers because this is tougher to open. So, oh yeah, wear gloves and wear a respirator. So, I'll be back. Alright, I'm back, and I got the pliers, so that way, there you go, see? And now, twist that off. And now, put that cap there. Luckily, I only need to do this on one thing. That's this. Okay. So now I'm going to put the glob of stuff on here. Okay. Now that should be good. So I'm going to set this down real quick. That way I can put the cap back on. Alright, now I'm going to use the super glue. I'm going to just dot that across here. And yes, even getting it on the glue, it's fine. Just want to make sure I get it anywhere that I can, so that way it can dry quick and easy. Alright. Now that I have that, I'm going to put it on the backpack. So, that, I'm going to apply this on here, and I'm going to place it right about there. Okay.
I'm just gonna have to wait for this to dry. And yeah, holding this for like 30 seconds or so. It should be good to put down and let it to continue drying, and then I'll just have to glue this little wire at the bottom, and the backpack should be done. Man, this took a lot longer than I thought. But that's fine. That's completely fine. And now, we wait. So, alright, I'll see you when the gluing is done. So, yeah.
And now we move on to gluing the final piece. And I just used hot glue to glue this little wire into there. And now it should be done.
And so, that was how I made this backpack. As you can see, it looks really nice and really cool. And, you know, it kind of makes me, without the gun, makes me look like a Luigi from Luigi's Mansion. Oh, my goodness.
I come to suck your ghost.
Oh, okay. Not gonna lie. I thought you were gonna say something different.
Gross.
But anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you guys like this video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe, and drop a comment down below on what do you think of this build and how it turned out. So yeah, I have some videos in the works. Still having to edit all of them, but yeah, hopefully I can get this video stuff all done. I am probably gonna just work on that stuff during Christmas break, because I got finals coming up and I gotta study for that. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and yeah, if you want to see more content like this, subscribe. So I will catch you guys in the next one, but for now, bye-bye.
Oh, yeah. Because this video is coming out late, I forgot to say Merry Christmas!